In order to figure out what general education classes you still have remaining, you can use My Academic Planner. In this video, I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to assume you know how to log into your portal, so once you've done that, go ahead and click Degree Planning Tools. The choice that you want is the third one, My Academic Planner or MAP. Click on that. That should take you to the request screen. So on this screen is where you're going to actually request the academic planner. So it's a slightly complicated process. After you have selected My Academic Planner, you go into this screen and click Submit Request and say OK. And then you're just going to wait. It actually comes up in the results screen. You can click results anytime. And that's right over here. So that's the results tab. Click the results tab, which takes you to the results screen. So we just wait here, maybe about 30 seconds or so. Let's see if it's ready. Click refresh, and it is ready. There it is. So we're going to open that up, and here's our academic planner. So here we should see pretty much all of the general education sections. In this particular example, we see that the student hasn't finished anything yet. It's a freshman, just starting out. So you see all these X's need to be completed before graduation. Most other majors can use My Academic Planner to plan out their classes. However, if you're an engineering or computer science major, your requirements are a bit more complicated. It's more accurate to use the form that's available online to line up these classes and requirements. Let me show you the form. It's basically a checklist. The way you access it is you go to a browser and you put in the shortcut, which is www.tinyurl.com/GE checklist. There it is. So this is the online version. You can either use the online version, and if you already know which classes or which sections you require, you can just click on the sections you require, and it'll give you a list of classes that fulfill that section. You could do it that way, or as I'm recommending through here, use your academic planner to line it up with the checklist. If you want to download the checklist or print it out, you just click here. So it'll download as a Microsoft Word file, which you can edit. It'll look something like this. And it corresponds with the classes here, the requirements. So I opened this up to show you that A1, this is how it opens. A1 here corresponds with the A1 here. So you can start here and look at all the sections where you need general education classes. For example, you need an English class, you need an oral communications class, you need 2 arts and humanities classes or 6 units worth. You need a social science class, you just need 1, since this covers one of them. And by the way, if you look at these sections that have something written into them, it basically means that that section is covered and you don't need to worry about it. So A2, for example, it also shows you here, A2 critical thinking met via completion of major requirements. Means you don't need to worry about it. So the sections you do need to worry about are left blank. So these rectangles here are classes you need. And again, they correspond with the classes here listed. So for example, showing that you need an A1, you could look here at your choices. This will depend on testing. So your first semester is when you take this class. We will tell you exactly which English class you need. So that one should be either that you're enrolled in it or that you will be enrolled in it by your advisor. When you get to your about second semester, most students usually take this second semester. This is speech or oral communication. You look at A4 here, and you want to know what actually fulfills A4. You just look at your academic planner, and it's these classes here. Those are your choices. Now the next question is, do I have to take a natural science? So if you open this up, it gives you a whole bunch of choices. However, if you actually chose any class here, you may make a mistake. So what you want to do is you want to go back to your checklist here and see what it is exactly in natural sciences is met by the major. So that means don't worry about this section for now. That, your choices for this, you don't really have many choices, and it'll be on your actual major sheet, on your major planner. So we'll be looking at that later. Some call it the diagram, major diagram. So closing that up, the other section, the next one that's blank that you actually require is Arts and Humanities, and that's section C. So if you come back here, you see section C is this, and you can expand it and look at what choices you have. This student is already enrolled in Music 106, so that counts for this section here. You could actually just go ahead and type it in to show that you have it. This student also had English 115, so that's enrolled already. You don't have to check mark it until you finish, but just showing that you're actually enrolled in the class so you don't get confused. And then you still need, this class is a 3-unit class, so that means the student needs 3 more units or 1 more class into this section. So continuing to scroll, you have this other section here, section D, and for this one requires 6 units, like I said earlier, and for the 6 units, one class is already met that it includes 3 units, so that means just 3 more units are remaining in here. This class is covered by the major. You don't really need to think about this at this point, especially if you're a freshman. This is going to be another class that's on your major diagram. So really it's just one social science you need to worry about. And the choices for this section, for the remaining 3 units, are listed right over here. Again, they correspond, section D, and these are your choices. Any of these classes will fulfill this requirement over here. And continuing on over here to lifelong learning, let's look at that one. So again, lifelong learning met by the major. So if you were going by this alone, you would see that you have all these choices, but if you read the fine print here, computer science 110 may be used to meet the GE major requirement. This student in particular is a computer science major. Regardless of the major, most students in engineering and computer science have this section already fulfilled by the major. That's the lifelong learning section, section E. Classes in here include kinesiology and those type of classes, lifelong learning classes. You could take those classes if you like, however they won't count for any requirements really, they'll be just extra units. But just know that, again, if you go over here, look under section E, it's already met by the major, so that's not something you need. Closing that up, let's go over to comparative cultural studies. You need 6 units from here, which is true. You actually do need 6 units. It shows 2 blanks here. You could either take 2 classes or a 6-unit class, which doesn't really exist for this section, but that's why I have 2 spaces. So any 2 classes will fulfill these as long as they have the correct amount of units. Some of these comparative cultural studies classes have 4 units each. An example would be like Japanese. That's 4 units. If you take Japanese 101 and Japanese 102, you will get 8 units. And you go over the 6, which is okay, as long as you don't go under. That'll fulfill this section. So moving on, that was section F that we were talking about, comparative cultural studies. If you look at the academic planner, it moves on to upper division requirements. This section, slightly complicated. So this section here, you have all these choices. It says here that you have to select 9 units. If you are an engineering major, not a computer science major, but an engineering major, remember that you have to take this class here, MSc 304. And that class is a 300 level class, or otherwise known as an upper division class. That fulfills one of those classes, or 3 units worth of the 9 here. Okay, so that means that if you fulfill 3 units of upper division with this class, you only have not 9 but 6 units left of upper division. So that means you have to take 3 units, 2 3-unit classes from here. Okay. You could also count, for example, if you don't have one of the GEs met, if you don't have arts and humanities, for example, and you want to get sort of a 2-for-1, you can take Arts and Humanities here. You can take an upper division Arts and Humanities class. That'll count as an Arts and Humanities. For example, let's use Asian American Studies 321. You can use that for your Arts and Humanities class. You can also count that as an upper division class. So on the checklist, I actually have that written here for upper division requirements. It says 3 courses from the above sections must be 300 level or higher, including MSc 304. So going back here, when you're looking at the 9 units requirements, 9 units, MSc 304 is 3 out of the 9. This is another 3 out of the 9, so you have 6 here already. And if you like, you can take another upper division class that counts in the sections you still need. For example, let's say you need a social science, which is this section. You can take Asian American Studies 350. That counts, that basically completes your upper division requirements, these 3 classes. It also completes, as you see, your other requirements, your specific like social sciences and arts and humanities sections. So you can do that. However, just remember that taking upper division classes, you have to have at least 60 units achieved. You have to be in junior standing. So there's some stipulations for taking upper division classes. Most of these general education classes that are upper division don't have prerequisites. However, some of them do. The only way to find out really for sure is to click on the actual class, and it'll give you a description including the prerequisites. So if you're a freshman or a sophomore, for the most part you are really just going to stick to the lower division classes, not the upper division. You'll really worry about this section, upper division classes, a little bit later. If you're almost done with most of your general education classes, for instance, if you had a lot of advanced placement or AP credit from high school, you might be almost done with this section, with many of these sections. So in that case, you could probably take your upper division general education classes a little bit earlier than junior year. Now going down to the rest of these requirements, I have them listed here underneath these 3 other requirements. There's something called subject explorations information competence. So for that section, that lines up for this one right here. Subject explorations information competence. And for that section, you can basically just need 1 class, and it could be any of these. And again, these actually are a bunch of other classes that overlap with the requirements above. So for instance, if you click on Art 305, that'll tell you actually that also is a class that can fulfill Arts and Humanities here. So really you can find out by clicking on them. You could also, if you go online to the online version of this and click here, it'll tell you which classes fulfill this requirement. So either you can look here on your academic planner, or you can click here on the online version of this form. Not the Word downloaded version, but the online version. Finally, if you look over here, the Title V, it doesn't completely line up perfectly with this form, but Title V is down here. So over here you have, essentially for the Title V, you have an American history requirement, and you have a U.S. Constitution or political science requirement. The way I did it is I just put it simplified here as just history and government. Really, these line up with the first requirement and the second requirement. American history, you can take any of these classes here, and that'll fulfill this section. For government, pretty much any of these classes will fulfill this section. And that's your Title V. The final reminder here is the Upper Division Writing Proficiency Exam. It's recommended that you take it around 56 units, but before 75 units. If you don't take it by 75 units, you will get a hold. There's more information on this website about the Upper Division Writing Proficiency Exam. And that basically concludes everything you need to know in terms of general education requirements, some other requirements that are required for graduation. Other than that, really it's your major diagram that you need to follow. and that's going to be in another video.